In July 1969, the world collectively held its breath as 3 American astronauts set off on a mission that would change how we see our place in the universe. Amid the tensions of the Cold War and a fierce competition for technological supremacy, NASA's Apollo 11 mission stood as not just a scientific milestone but also a beacon of hope and unity. With millions of eyes glued to their screens, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins launched into space aboard the Saturn V rocket, carrying the aspirations of countless generations. Their goal? The Moon, a far-off, enigmatic world that has sparked wonder and myth for ages. The journey to reach it required bold vision, relentless determination, and an unprecedented level of teamwork. As the spacecraft broke free from Earth's atmosphere, it signified the peak of years filled with innovation, sacrifice, and bravery. What came next would be etched in history as one of the most iconic and uplifting moments. When humanity first set foot on another celestial body. Chapter 1, The Space Race begins. After World War II wrapped up, a fresh kind of rivalry kicked off between the United States and the Soviet Union. This Cold War wasn't just about politics and military might, it was also a fierce competition in technology. By the late 1950s, the battleground had shifted from the ground to the great beyond, space. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the globe by launching Sputnik, the very first artificial satellite to orbit our planet. Just a few years later, they sent Yuri Gagarin, the first human, into space, which only fueled American anxieties about falling behind. In response, the United States sprang into action, creating the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in 1958. NASA's mission was clear: develop a space program that could not only keep up with but also outshine Soviet accomplishments. The American public, enchanted by the idea of exploring the cosmos, rallied around this exciting new venture. Schools began to prioritize science and math, while engineers and scientists pushed the boundaries of what technology could achieve. Then, in 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a groundbreaking challenge to the nation: land a man on the moon and bring him back safely to Earth before the decade was out. This daring statement marked the official launch of the Apollo program. The space race had transformed from a mere contest for glory into a crucial test of national determination, creativity, and ambition. Chapter 2, Dreaming the Impossible. When President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress on May 25, 1961, and boldly proclaimed that the United States would land a man on the moon before the decade wrapped up, it felt like something straight out of a science fiction novel. At that time, America had only sent one astronaut, Alan Shepard, on a quick suborbital flight that lasted just about 15 minutes. The thought of traveling nearly 240,000 miles through the vastness of space, landing safely on an alien world, and making it back home seemed utterly far-fetched to many. Yet, Kennedy's daring vision sparked the imagination of a nation eager to assert its leadership amid the tensions of the Cold War. Behind this ambitious dream were countless men and women who refused to let the present define their limits. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and planners rolled up their sleeves and began turning the impossible into something tangible. The Mercury and Gemini programs were crucial stepping stones, allowing them to test how space travel affected the human body and to refine essential spacecraft technologies. Each mission provided invaluable lessons, boosting confidence and expanding knowledge. Kennedy's challenge was more than just a political statement, it was a rallying cry, urging the United States to pour resources into education, research, and innovation. It ignited a generation of thinkers and doers who committed themselves to tackling unprecedented challenges. What once felt like a distant fantasy began to morph into a tangible reality. The dream of reaching the moon transformed from a mere hope into a national objective. Chapter 3, Building Apollo. Turning the dream of landing on the moon into a reality was no small feat. It required an unprecedented technological effort. Engineers and scientists encountered challenges that pushed the boundaries of innovation at every turn. At the heart of this endeavor was the Saturn V rocket, a massive machine crafted to launch astronauts beyond the confines of Earth's atmosphere. Towering over 300 feet, the Saturn V earned its title as the most powerful rocket ever constructed, capable of carrying the Apollo spacecraft on its groundbreaking journey. In tandem with the rocket, the lunar module was created as a specialized vehicle designed to touch down on the Moon's surface and then return to orbit. Unlike typical spacecraft, the lunar module had to function in low gravity and a harsh, airless environment. It was a delicate and intricate craft, engineered to detach from the command module, land softly, and then take off again to meet up with the orbiting spacecraft. Meanwhile, astronauts underwent intense training in simulators and test environments to prepare for every conceivable scenario. Teams dedicated themselves to designing life support systems, communication devices, and navigation tools. Each component was subjected to rigorous testing to guarantee safety and reliability. This monumental effort brought together thousands of individuals across the nation, all united by one extraordinary mission: to send humans to the Moon and safely bring them back home. Chapter 4: Countdown to History. As July 16, 1969, drew near, a palpable mix of tension and excitement filled the air at Kennedy Space Center. The Apollo 11 crew, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, were gearing up for their monumental mission, embodying a blend of focus and quiet determination. Engineers and mission controllers meticulously conducted final checks on the Saturn V rocket and the spacecraft, ensuring that every system was tested repeatedly for flawless operation. Families, friends, and millions of people around the globe were glued to the countdown. News broadcasts captured those final moments before launch, showcasing the astronauts' heartfelt farewell messages and the dedication of everyone involved in this historic event. The launch pad was alive with activity as teams rushed to finalize preparations and tackle any last-minute technical issues. The atmosphere was electric yet tinged with caution, as the world held its breath for a journey fraught with unknown dangers. The stakes were high, but the dream of achieving something unprecedented fueled everyone's spirit. As the clock ticked down, a hush fell over the control room. Then, with a thunderous roar, the Saturn V soared into the sky, marking the beginning of a voyage that would forever alter the course of history. Chapter 5: Journey Through the Void. After an exhilarating launch from Earth, Apollo 11 slipped into orbit and geared up for the crucial translunar injection, the maneuver that would set the spacecraft on its path to the Moon. As the third stage of the Saturn V roared to life, the crew felt the thrill of leaving Earth behind. Through their windows, the astronauts beheld a breathtaking view, the blue planet gradually shrinking against the vast blackness of space. It was a moment filled with awe, silence, and profound reflection. The trek to the Moon stretched over 3 days. During this time, the astronauts conducted regular system checks, updated their navigation, and ran communication tests with mission control. Inside the command module, space was limited, and every movement had to be deliberate. Michael Collins stayed particularly focused on managing and monitoring the systems that would ensure their safe return. The lunar module, aptly named Eagle, underwent careful inspection and preparation for its upcoming descent. Armstrong and Aldrin practiced their procedures, reviewed landing instructions, and made sure all instruments were in top shape. The stillness of space, occasionally interrupted by the crackling voice of mission control, served as a stark reminder of the isolation and risks they faced. Even amidst the routine of the journey, an undercurrent of tension began to build. The next phase would be the most audacious yet, detaching from the command module and attempting to land on the Moon's surface. At this point, everything hinged on precision, calm focus, and the extensive training they had undergone for years. Chapter 6: The Eagle Has Landed. On July 20, 1969, the entire world held its breath as the lunar module, affectionately called Eagle, broke away from the command module and began its descent toward the Moon. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin skillfully piloted the delicate craft over the Moon's gray, dusty terrain, searching for a safe place to land. Unfortunately, the intended landing zone was littered with rocks and craters, which forced Armstrong to take manual control. With fuel running low and alarms blaring, the tension in the air was palpable with each passing second. Back in mission control, engineers were on the edge of their seats as the Eagle approached the surface. Then, Armstrong's steady voice crackled through the radio, "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. A wave of applause, cheers, and even tears swept through the control room and echoed around the globe. After years of hard work and risk, two brave souls had finally set foot on another world. Armstrong and Aldrin quickly began system checks to confirm that the lunar module was stable and operational. Meanwhile, Michael Collins circled above in the command module, keeping in touch and ready to lend a hand if necessary. This successful landing was not just a victory for technology, it was a testament to human courage, determination, and teamwork. But the mission was far from complete. The most unforgettable moment was still to come, stepping onto the lunar surface. Chapter 7, One Small Step. Just hours after touching down on the moon, Neil Armstrong was gearing up to leave the lunar module, ready to make history as the first human to set foot on another celestial body. Millions of people around the world tuned into the grainy black and white broadcast, holding their breath as he carefully descended the ladder. At 10:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and uttered the iconic words that would resonate through time. That is one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. The moon's surface was eerily silent, a gray expanse unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Armstrong took his time, adjusting to the low gravity as he began to explore the area around him. Moments later, Buzz Aldrin joined him, famously describing the scene as magnificent desolation. Together, they planted the American flag, set up scientific instruments, and collected samples of lunar rock and dust. Although their tasks had been rehearsed, each moment was filled with awe. Every movement was captured, analyzed, and broadcast live to an enthralled audience back on Earth. They spent just over 2 hours walking on the moon, with every step, every sample, and every photograph marking a significant milestone in human history. Before they left, they placed a plaque with a message of peace and a testament to human achievement. Then, they climbed back into the lunar module, leaving behind footprints that would remain untouched for centuries. The journey back awaited them, but humanity had already stepped into a new era. Chapter 8, Return as Heroes. With their mission on the moon successfully wrapped up, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got ready for liftoff from the lunar surface. The ascent stage of the lunar module fired up perfectly, lifting them back into orbit to reunite with Michael Collins in the command module. Docking in lunar orbit was a delicate maneuver, but they executed it with the kind of precision that comes from experience. Once they were all back together, the trio transferred the moon rocks, film, and data into the command module before letting the Eagle drift away to continue its orbit around the moon. The journey back to Earth kicked off with a long glide through the emptiness of space. The crew kept in constant touch with mission control, running system checks and keeping an eye on their re-entry trajectory. As they neared Earth's atmosphere, the tension ramped up once more. The command module detached from the service module and began its fiery plunge, protected by its heat-resistant shield. On July 24, 1969, Apollo 11 made a safe splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Recovery teams from the USS Hornet were quick to reach the capsule, securing the astronauts and welcoming them back as national heroes. Due to worries about potential lunar contamination, the crew spent a few days in quarantine, while the world celebrated their monumental achievement. Parades, medals, and speeches followed, but the most enduring legacy of Apollo 11 was the sense of unity and inspiration it sparked across humanity. They had done it. They had reached the moon and made it back home safely. The Apollo 11 mission stands out as one of humanity's most remarkable achievements. It showcased what can happen when vision, bravery, and teamwork come together with a clear purpose. During a time filled with global tension and uncertainty, the moon landing brought people from all corners of the world together in awe and wonder. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins became icons of courage, embodying the pinnacle of human ambition. The triumph of Apollo 11 wasn't just a conclusion, it marked the dawn of a new era in space exploration. It proved that we could reach beyond our planet and touch the stars. Even after all these years, the footprints left on the moon still tell the story of that incredible moment when a dream became reality. The legacy of Apollo 11 continues to ignite the curiosity of new generations, encouraging them to explore, question, and strive for the seemingly impossible.